All right, welcome back to Network Effects. Got a special guest here today. In fact, well, no, I guess it isn't my first. It is my first live guest. That is a fact. So we're here live with Fashioncoder, and we're about to get into it, get to know her a little bit, and dive into a bunch of topics. All right, so FC, what's happening?
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Absolutely, I'm excited to have you on. In fact, I got to make sure I pull up comments because I did realize that when I did have people on, I wasn't able to see them before. So yeah, so we were obviously able to chat a little bit before we went live. And one of the things you were telling me is that your pops had gotten you into the community, and so tell me a little bit about that. Like, tell me how that all happened.
Yeah, totally. So I got into crypto about 3 years ago. And so my dad was the one that brought it to me. He's an electrical engineer and he was doing like trading futures on the side.
Right.
And so it was a very interesting thing, but I think that's what got him into crypto. So going like that path, he got into crypto and then he was like, hey, you should invest some money. So I was in college during that time. So I invested a little bit of money. And within the first week of me being in crypto, it doubled, which was
Yeah.
crazy. And I put in a very small amount, but seeing it double, I was like, wow, this is so cool. So that was like my first thing where I was like, oh, I totally believe in crypto because I saw my money double, which was so cool. So that was my first experience with it, but then left it for a little while and then really started getting into it maybe 2 years ago. And I was able to, invest more money and I was more confident in the decisions. But honestly, I blindly followed my dad for a really long time. And I feel like even now I ask him everything about crypto. I ask him so many questions just because I want to make sure, I'm understanding it and he knows it so well. So
Yeah.
about a year ago, I started doing some of my own research, but then really when I started my YouTube channel was when I dived even deeper in because I was making content. So I was like, oh, I should probably, really know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and you do a really good job with that. In fact, one of the things I was mentioning, like I said before, was, how your dad actually he had told you specific goals to set as far as how much pulse you were actually looking to get. At least
Mm-hmm.
this was your original pre-bridge strategy, right?
Yep.
And this is when you were saying you were only going for PulseX. But anyway, so your dad, he's a hexagon then, or is he just a more general crypto dude?
Both. So he is a
Gotcha.
hexagon, but then we both got into crypto in other forms. And then he heard about Hex from BitBoy. He mentioned it once. And so
So
my
did
dad
I.
got into it. Really? Okay.
When did
Cool.
he hear
So
about it? I'm so curious. When did he hear about it?
I think he got in early 2020.
Oh, so he heard it from BitBoy a lot earlier than I did.
Okay. That's awesome. So were you in was Hex your first crypto or how
No,
did you get into crypto?
so I'm a 2013 Bitcoin guy. So
Wow.
yeah, so I was in Bitcoin 2013 August. I think it was August 5th, 2013. I bought my first 5 Bitcoins at $95 a pop. That's what the price was at the time.
Wow.
And and yeah, and my purposes for crypto were, I mean, I haven't really discussed this much live, but I'm happy to because I mean, you can see my shirt is, hangovers. No, I don't drink. This is water, by the way, and so I did used to have a bad habit, and crypto was actually the only way that you could acquire certain things on the internet. And
Okay.
so that's how I got into crypto was basically, oh wow, it was obviously nefarious, but and I've always been a tech guy, and I was at the time I was in Silicon Valley area running a company in the private equity group that I was with, and so I was kind of doing a dual thing. Anyway, that's a separate story that I'll get into maybe some other time. But my point
Okay.
is, I got into it by accident, essentially, by needing to get products that you could only get with Bitcoin. And then I realized that I was in the San Francisco area. I could go buy coffee with Bitcoin. I could go buy lunch with Bitcoin. I could go do a bunch of different things with Bitcoin. And so I started accumulating it. And then
Okay.
one of the questions I asked Richard on stream was about the Mount Gox hack by the old CEO, because I had so I kept some of my Bitcoin in Coinbase, but I had the majority of them so I kept buying and selling Bitcoin. And my experience wasn't as fast as yours was in terms of watching it double in a week. but I watched it. I mean, I watched it go from 95 to a few hundred within, gosh, I want to say it was a few weeks, you know? So, I mean, it did more than a double.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I watched them. So I all the way until 2014, it was either 2014 or 2015 when, if you don't know much history about it, Mount Gox it actually stands for MTGOX. It's Magic the Gathering Online Exchange is what the
Okay.
site originally was. But that was actually the exchange that you used back then. That was basically the exchange that you used back then. And the CEO ran off with all the money. He's in prison right now. And yeah, he's and so I'm still getting letters from a Japanese court, because this was a company based in Japan, of when we're supposed to get our Bitcoin back. And Richard said it will happen. And, you know, and the letters keep giving us updates. It's supposed to happen any day now, but that's been the case for the last 3 years, you know, so we'll see. So I got into Bitcoin back in 2013.
Wow.
And then I kind of left it alone. Well, I mean, after I got burned, right? Like after I got burned by having the majority of my Bitcoin taken, I kind of, it kind of soured me to it for a while, you know. And then back in 2017, 2018 is when I picked it back up again. However, you know, just dabbled with it small. I mean, my play was, I was much more of a private equity guy. I like to put my money into actual companies, actual businesses, and watching, and, you know, and then putting sweat equity into them as well and watching them grow. And then as far as really getting into Hex, it was about a year ago at this time on BitBoy's stream. I'd already been in Bitcoin and Ethereum and things like that, but I saw Richard on BitBoy, and everything he said made sense. And he brought up the Mount Gox hack. And so instantly he was speaking to me. Like instantly,
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, you're speaking to my pain, dude. You know, and so that's what got me into Hex. And then so it was like 8 cents at the time. I have no problem saying that the point at which I got in. So still in the green, but I still think it has leagues. It still has so much to go. You know what I mean? It's got a lot to go. So anyway, that's when I got in. So
Okay, cool. So you've been around crypto for a long time.
yeah, so I mean, gosh, almost 10 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
almost 10 years. And I still have I can still go into my Coinbase account and scroll back to my purchases and see, you know, $95 first 5. It was like 400 and, you know, $75 or something like that for the first 5. You know what I mean? So it was definitely early.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of people earlier than that around where I was. So yeah, so before we dive, I guess, too much into Hex, one of the questions I have is, so one of my passions, I mean, as I kind of alluded to, is recovery. Like that's one of the things that I do outside of crypto is I recovery related businesses and help people get clean and stuff like that. That's my passion, right? And so I'm assuming maybe by the name that fashion is one of your passions.
Yeah. So I don't do much in it right now. It's always been a life dream to have my own like clothing line or clothing store.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so I know at some point that I'll do that just because it's one of my dreams. But the other part of my name is Coder, and it's
Right.
interesting. So you're in tech, right? Is what you
Yeah.
said? That's awesome.
Well,
So I used
yeah, so private equity was, so yeah, it was so the company I was running at the time was, they ran the gamut, but a large scientific company that basically manufactured analytical chemistry consumables. So it's tech, but not necessarily computer tech, you know, more
okay.
laboratory science.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I used to be a software developer, and then I got an MBA, and now I work as a product owner. So I work for a tech company. I'm basically like the liaison between the customer and the software development team. So
Yeah.
it's really fun. But yeah, so that's kind of like where my name comes from is I love fashion, love clothing, all of that. And then I do love coding. Decided it
Yeah.
wasn't for me for a career, but I have found a love for that as well.
That's awesome. So I got my MBA as well. I'd be curious to know, did you do by chance like an MBA TM degree, like
Oh, what
technology
is
management, or
IT management? Yep.
okay, IT management? I'm just
Yep.
without doxing anything, just curious as far as where, you know, where you might have gotten it. But yeah, so yeah, MBA. Do you find that, do you use your MBA much? Do you feel?
So it definitely got me the job I have,
Correct. It does help
which
there.
is good because I was applying for jobs I was not qualified for. And
Right.
I honestly think the only reason I got it was because I had an MBA. But I felt like it was a lot more business oriented than the IT side of things. And I work in, I mean, like I work in product, which is software. So I'm a technical product owner.
Right.
And I feel like it didn't absolutely help with that. So it's nice to have because I really do think it helped me get what I did, like get my job, but I don't think I use it.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because you learn a lot there, but I always think that, especially someone younger like yourself, and when I got my MBA, it was, you know, I did it right out of right out of college. So when I was 22, and it was you know, it was, I mean, I didn't have enough real experience to really apply it yet, you know, and so I think that, you know, you get your real MBA while you're actually in business is my experience. But anyway, we have the letters at the end of our name, so congrats on getting the job.
Thanks.
So obviously, as far as so that's cool. So that's your passion outside of it. Would you say so? Fashion is your passion. You'd eventually like to own a clothing store, and who knows with what might be happening in the next couple weeks, and then the next couple years, that could easily become a reality. What are your
Oh,
thoughts on that?
yeah, totally. It's going to be really exciting to see what happens in the next little while.
Yeah,
And I think, I mean, this is not financial advice, but I think it's smart to go into this with a growth mindset and a long-term mindset. That
absolutely.
it's probably not going to just happen overnight, and that's okay because it's that delayed gratification. I feel like Richard Hart talks about that a lot.
So well.
Is waiting, and that's okay, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that's something that we all need as humans, I believe. I mean, especially in some of the work I do outside of this, that's everything. I mean, delayed gratification is the key to happiness, I believe. And so, but as far as with the Pulse Chain launch coming, I mean, first of all, it's something that crypto has never even seen before, a stateful fork of any blockchain. Do you know of any other stateful fork that has happened? I don't think it's happened at all.
I don't think it has either. I've looked into it a little bit, and I do think Pulse Chain is the only one that's going full blown like it is.
Yeah. So I mean, we have Pulse Chain coming, and for those that don't know what Pulse Chain is, if anyone's watching this that doesn't by chance, it's a fork of Ethereum, essentially its own blockchain. It's going to be a layer one, and it's going to have a copy of every single token, whether that be an ERC20, an ERC721, which is an NFT, or any other type of smart contract. It's going to have those already on that blockchain, and your wallet will have all of those in them. You might need to add them, but you will essentially own all of the same assets that you own on Ethereum on Pulse Chain, except you have to swap out Ethereum for Pulse. For every Ethereum you have, you will have one Pulse. And so it's something that has not been seen before. Just like I guess Hex hadn't really been seen before. It was, you know, as far as the blockchain version of a CD. And talk about delayed gratification. I mean, Hexkins got laughed at for a while with Hex, you know,
And
and
they
then
still are, right?
still are, right? I mean, absolutely. I was tweeting earlier with, gosh, the guy that did an interview with Richard not too long ago, the Alex gentleman, and he was mentioning that Hexkins were being pretty aggressive in the chat with the video that he had with Wendy O yesterday, you know, because I thought he was meaning Richard, and I was like, not at all. She loved Richard, but he was saying that, you know, we should be a little bit more open of a community. And and my response was, I've been part of different communities, obviously going back to Bitcoin in 2013.
Yeah.
I've never seen anyone as open and loving and caring as Hexicans. That being said, we call it as it is, and you know, you can only be called an idiot so many times. I mean, I did a video that was in response to Crypto Exposed video on Richard Hart, where he confirmed Hex is not a scam, but in it he said that basically we were a bunch of idiots or something. You know what I mean? And it's just like, we still get hate, and I don't get it. Like Richard's tweet today, if you would have invested $100, you would have had like 400 some bucks in Bitcoin by now, or you know, back in January 5th, 2020, right? January 1st, 2020, and then yeah, it ended up being hundreds of thousands of dollars for Hex. And what I don't get what there is to laugh at. I just don't get it.
Yeah. I don't get it either. It's funny, just like comments I get on my videos, and people will be like, oh, well, like this is a scam, like when are you going to see this as a Ponzi scheme? And I love my people that are subscribed to me because they just clap back so hard, and they're like, well, this is going to keep going on for the next 25 years. I'm like, people have made money from this. Like if it was a scam, like you wouldn't make money from it, and people continue to make money from it, and people are going to continue making money from it.
Yeah, point out a victim. It's like Richard says, show me a victim of mine. You know, I mean, like, gosh, with everything going on with Luna today, you know, or Luna over the last little while, but UST losing its peg. I mean, that's a serious. I mean, I think they had as far as total value locked. By the way, we have 9 viewers, which is awesome. Looks like we got Ike, Ricey, Crypto Gains Club. Let's see. What else we got?
I see some of my friends.
Yeah, I was gonna say these must be some of your people. Welcome. Thank you all for being here. But yeah, I think they had like the largest total value locked, or one of them, on their network as recently as a couple months ago. And now it's, I mean, Luna was 114 a few weeks ago, like up to 114-ish, maybe a bit higher, and now this morning it's trading for $1. You know?
Yeah. It's crazy. Okay, so I have a question for you about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So because it's so low, is right now a good time to buy into it? Or is it done? Or what do you think?
So, all right. So here's the news that I have so far. So the news that I have is that Do Kwon, essentially the guy in charge of, you know, the guy that built Luna, that he over this last night, like literally from like last night to this morning, that he was reaching out to all of his investor buddies, trying to get like 1.5 billion, something around that number, to try to basically try to reinstate the peg as well as he could, and also you know, essentially try to keep the system going. And supposedly that didn't happen, and that's why you saw a huge fall off just from last night to this morning, is that it didn't happen, and he was doing everything that he could. That being said, and I like to say that I think it's smart to, at this moment, to basically invest every single penny into Hex. Like at this moment, that's my personal belief. And at the same time, I threw $100 out there to grab, like, you know, to grab about like 80 shares, or 80 Lunas, you know, hashtag Lunas. And so, but again, I think the right play right now is to buy Hex. That's what I think. It was more just for fun, but I just don't know. I just don't think it's going to stay alive. And what makes me curious about is it was an algorithmic stablecoin, right? And I know that he had just bought 10,000 Bitcoin not too long ago. And you know, like with projects, and I saw that you did an interview with Jesse, you know, with loans, and I love, like, I think Jesse's awesome at the Hexpo in Vegas that Matty Allen threw. I sat and talked with him and his wife for about an hour and a half. I mean, just some of the coolest people. We talked crypto for a while, got a lot of cool insight. But one of the things I do want to know is, and he did post a video that I have to just say I haven't watched it yet, but he did post one saying we need to watch more about how different stablecoins work. And so, do you have any insight, you know, since you did that interview? I didn't get to watch your whole interview, but is to any difference between how UST had worked versus how you know, USDL will work?
Oh, that's a great question. So I feel like I don't have any insight on it, honestly, but I have gone and seen Jesse commenting on so many different people's tweets because they've asked that exact same question. And so I haven't had the time to read it yet, just because I've had a really busy work day today. But I know that he has been commenting. So if you go to like his tweets and replies, I'm sure you could find the answer to it.
Well, here's something I could tell you right now. So so back in December, I was watching a stream where Gary, Funny Jim was on the stream with Gary was on, Jesse was on, gosh, there were several people on, and anyway, they were kind of going hard on Jesse about how USDL would work. And what Jesse did is he said, guys, listen, I'm a Hexkin, and he was explaining everything, but he goes, do me a favor, take $500 and go and buy Liquidity. take $500 and go in and take $500 and buy USDL, put it in the staking pool, and then and then take your liquidity and put it in the stability, or sorry, the other way around, liquidity in the staking pool, and then the LUSD in the stability pool. And he goes, and just watch what happens. And because this is I don't know if it's a fork of liquidity, but it's essentially the same concept as how liquidity is, and it's going to be on Pulse Chain. And I just pulled up LUSD right now, and it's at 9.9968. So clearly, with everything going on, its peg is just fine. So that gives me a lot of confidence. Just looking at that metric alone gives me some confidence with what some of the other stables are doing.
Yep, and it is a fork off liquidity. Just so
it is. So it is a fork of liquidity. Okay, that's what I thought. I wasn't sure if they actually were forking it. Wait, who do we got? Is that Ballet Brand? I can't hold on. I got to move up.
I think we have Brizology. We have Ike and Thomas Turner.
Oh, hey, yeah, it's Brizology. It's for some. Yeah, sorry, Briz. I thought that it was Brand just when I saw the lines behind it. Good to see you, man. I've been watching a couple of your videos recently. So yeah, that's what was the question you asked me as far as
Oh, are you going to? Should you invest in Luna?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's again my advice. If no financial advice, but my play, everything I've been doing, all dry powder. I've basically been throwing it at Hex, but I have been making a couple just fun plays because of their because of how they can work on Pulse Chain, and so one of the plays I did was get some Gus and Luna, and just had some fun with it, and it's gone pretty. It's been pretty volatile today. So if you're into trading, then, it could be some fun. Are you into trading?
Nope. I'm a long-term investment type of gal.
I'm with you. So with that question, have you been burned? What's up, David Lee? What's up, T-Bird? I'm sorry to disappoint you, Briz. You're funny.
Have I been burned? I guess slightly, and not anything bad either. There have been a couple of coins where I'd put money into it, only $300 or $400, and then within a week it was down to 80.
Yeah.
But that's only happened maybe 1 or 2 times. I think more of me being burned has been me not jumping on opportunities.
So as far as obviously my Mt. Gox situation, with the Bitcoin, that's a burn. I will admit, my first NFT that I ever bought, I was a Hexagon, and I'm a Hexagon that likes to play with NFTs. I'll just say that I think they're fun. I like to play with them. I do think they have certain utility. They could have certain utility, I should say. I don't think they're fully utilized at all, but it's fun, and I like art. And even though, anyway, it's fun. And and that being said, I did buy a Bored Ape right when it came out, or so I thought, and it was just a complete fake. It was Bored Ape Yachts Club, and I just simply hadn't, with an S at the end, yachts instead of yacht club. So I wasted $300, so that was. But other than that, I'm pretty locked down when it comes to security. Make sure to use cold storage wallets and Trezor's ledgers, things like that. So yeah, okay. So yeah, your question was that, and then so one of the things I've noticed with your videos that you've done a really good job with, and one of the questions I have is your YouTube channel. Did you kind of plan out how you went about it? Because I've noticed that you almost have how to install MetaMask. It didn't really reflect your journey because you've been in crypto longer than that. Were you designing it for someone to be able to kind of onboard through watching your videos, or are they just kind of in a random order that just seems to be quite logical?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I actually created my YouTube channel not to be a YouTuber. It was just so that I could help onboard my friends. So I've been helping several of my friends for a year or more now, and I feel like my circle of crypto people has just gotten bigger and bigger that I've had to help. And also, my dad helps a lot of people too. So I was like, oh, well, I'll just, I have some free time. I'll make some videos so then I don't have to help everyone individually.
Yeah, smart.
So I was like, that's just going to be the easiest way. And so I made those beginner guides and just things like that, as well as how to do specific things on Pulse Chain and PulseX for my friends. and for my family, because they all, sacrifice for specific things, or, they have money in certain areas in
Right.
crypto. So I did it all for them, really. But then my videos started having more traction, and
Yeah.
people started asking me to be on live streams. So never did I plan to like be where I'm at right now. And it's only been 2 months, which is crazy. And so I just
That is
started the
crazy.
videos for them, but I feel like I've just been like adopted into this big family, and I've
Yeah.
gotten so much support, and everyone's so kind that I like want to continue doing things and doing videos.
Yeah, see, that's awesome. Then that's a cool story. And yeah, I saw that you were on a stream with Richard not too long ago, which
Yeah.
is cool. And he even watches your videos. So yeah, you've been fully adopted in the family. And that's pretty cool. Hexy Quinn, what's happening? Good to see you. She's a sister. She's we're local Hexkins, Hexy Quinn and myself. So gosh, one of the questions I had after that was, oh yeah, a point I wanted to make about your videos is I think the reason you've been getting such good feedback on them is they're concise. You're succinct, you're to the point, and yeah, you explain things really well. And I've even sent a couple people to your videos to learn
Thanks.
things as far as how to how to use the testnet, how to use the bridge, things like that. And so yeah, I think you've done a good job with it.
Thanks. I've had so much fun doing the how-to videos, just because it's made me learn it, right? Because
Right.
you have to know something pretty well to teach other people it. And so being able to just go through the testnet and learn how everything works has been really cool. I can't even tell you how many times I've called my dad, though.
So he's a master with it.
Oh, he's
He's
so
like a
smart.
Jedi.
He's so
That's
smart.
awesome.
He's so good at like everything. And so I like ask him specific things, and he'll explain it to me, and then I'll ask him again. And then he'll explain it to me again. And so yeah, it's been fun just like doing that with him too.
That's cool. Yeah. See, my family, they all have Hex because I give it to them for Christmas, birthdays, things like that.
Nice.
But they really haven't taken the time to stake, even though I'm here to help. Whatever so they're missing out on some things. Let me ask you this: with your dad being as much of a Hexkin as he is, and with you having been in crypto as long as you have now, why didn't you sacrifice for Pulse?
Oh,
Why didn't you? And you said you even knew about it.
I know. It makes me so mad too, because like me and my dad are always in cahoots. Like the first person that I feel like he ever tells about things and like gets to invest in things is me, because I feel like I've always had extra money to invest. And
Yeah.
so I'm always the person he comes to first. And like I heard him talk about it with my sister's boyfriends, and I heard him talk about it with other people, and like I knew exactly what it was, but I was never like, "Oh, I need to do that." And it drives me crazy. Like, biggest regret of 2021 is that I didn't sacrifice for Pulse Chain. And I feel stupid talking in like my videos, because I'm like, I didn't sacrifice for it, and I knew.
Yeah, but
Like,
hey,
how
you're being
dumb.
real about it. But
But
I mean, yeah, you knew about it, and but the thing is, we make mistakes like that, and I think maybe that's one of the reasons that it's driven you to do so much research into testnet and how to actually make sure that, even though it was so interesting, because at the beginning, even though you hadn't sacked for Pulse, like your original strategy, you were saying, I'm forget Pulse, I'm just going for as much PulseX as I can possibly get, right? So what changed your mindset to make you start saying that you want to make sure that you get Pulse as well, other than the fact that you obviously need it to operate? Like, do you think one's going to be better than the other?
so in that video that you're talking about, I didn't talk about my post bridge strategy. And my strategy has always been that I do need Pulse Chain, because
Right.
I think it's going to be an amazing asset. But that wasn't a part of my pre-bridge strategy, so I just didn't
That's
add
true.
it. I did post a video yesterday though on my updated strategy. It's still my strategy to just go full in on PulseX, and there's a reason why for my pre-bridge. It's because I think that a lot of people are going to be trying to get Pulse Chain from their PulseX,
Right.
because 2/3 of the people that sacrificed for PulseX don't have Pulse Chain.
Wow.
So
Is that the number? 2/3?
Yeah, about 2/3. So I don't want to be one of those people that's trying to dive in pre-bridge with ratio trading to try
Agreed.
and get pulse chain because I think
Right.
that's going to, make it be a little hairy.
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah.
yeah, so I mean, clearly, like, we might see the ratios, and it might be a really good, like, moment for me to get into Pulse Chain, but it might not be. So my goal right now is just to continue getting PulseX. I'm really happy with where my PulseX bag is at. So I don't think I need more PulseX. But
Right.
what I'm thinking is maybe if I was able to get into PulseX and then went like super hard on that, that price could then be, and those coins could then later be moved over to Pulse Chain.
Right.
So it's all about what the best still is. I'm going to be a bargain hunter here.
Smart. Yeah. As you should be. Yeah. When you mentioned that, I mean, because Pulse was obviously the first thing I dove into. I mean, I found out about Richard. I mean, gosh, it was probably when was the sack? Was it in end of
July,
it was
June,
July, right? It was
yeah.
so I found out about Richard in about a year ago, like a little over
Okay.
a year ago. It was on BitBoy's stream where he had Richard on it. So you look back to whenever that date was. And anyway, it was so I literally found out about him right in time for the sacrifice, So I went heavy into the pulse chain sack. I also made sure I donated to Sens. That was the thing that was important to me. Also, I'm a big fan of nonprofits, support some local nonprofits where I live, and I've worked in nonprofit before, so I
Hmm.
believe in what they do. So I thought it was a really cool cause, and it was the first time I'd ever seen anything like that. The whole sacrifice phase, the
Oh,
whole
yeah.
concept of you're making a sacrifice for free, essentially to stand up for free speech and acknowledging the blockchain is speech and no expectation of anything. However, you will get points, and those points might be tokens someday. I mean, it was just a very clever way to give us an opportunity that literally we don't have these opportunities in crypto unless we're accredited investors, and
Uh-huh.
so that was really cool. And so yeah, so the sacrifice was, I think, a phenomenal opportunity. And so I was able to get into that. And then PulseX, I found out. And fortunately, I mean, I didn't go too crazy into it because I saw that a lot of people were upset after the Pulse chain sacrifice because they were like, I have no more dry powder. Like I threw everything at Pulse,
Ooh. Uh-huh.
So that's why it's interesting that you say that, because I wonder what the ratio is the other way. If you're saying that 2/3 of PulseX owners don't have Pulse, I wonder how many Pulse owners don't have PulseX. So I
That's
don't
a
think it's just the
great,
inverse.
yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. And I don't know. And I
Yeah.
don't know if you could really even tell that. I'm not sure.
I mean, we'd have
Uh,
to probably do some blockchain analysis, I
yeah,
mean, you could definitely,
it would
I
take
mean,
some
we have
time.
yeah, it would take some time. I mean, you could use some pivot tables on Excel, and I'm sure you could figure it out, but still, you never know. I mean, just because someone could have 7 wallets, so that doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily mean that somebody doesn't have it. It just might be in one wallet.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I see your logic. I see your logic on that. Now, overall, do you see one of the coins doing better than the other? Or let me ask you this before. Do you see any other coins have they're going to have a pretty substantial use case on Pulse Chain out the
Ooh,
gate? I think so many coins will. I think it's better. It's a better Ethereum, but out the gate, do you think there's other communities that are gonna jump right in?
ooh, that's a good question. So I love liquid loans. I think they're
Yeah, I
hopefully
sat
we're
for
gonna,
them too.
yeah, I think they're going to be great. There's Mintra, and they are going to be like a cleaner NFT marketplace.
Yeah,
So I
like an
think,
OpenSea replacement, right?
yeah, yeah. So I think they're cool. There's the
There's
Pulse.
Fiat,
Oh yeah, Fiat. That one looks so cool too.
which I missed that one. I'm
I
upset.
did
I
too.
didn't know about that one until 2 days after it was over. I was
I
like,
know.
"What?"
Yeah. Isn't that sad? My dad and I were texting about it yesterday, actually, and we've like started a list of all of the coins we're going to buy into
Yeah.
once like they're released on the Pulse chain.
I think all those coins you mentioned will absolutely do well, but I guess I kind of look at these things in two categories. I see those as all like hexagon projects that, you know, because I mean, Gerardo did Mintra, right? Jesse and others did liquid loans. I mean, Maximus, I think will have a huge use case over on Pulse Chain. Huge use case. Maximus is I'm glad that I, you know, traded a hex for Maxi, especially at the how it's been recently. Although I haven't been trading it, you know, although it's tempting, right? When you see a 50% premium, it's like, well, but you might never see that. You might never see a discount. Who knows? Who knows what it'll be? But I'm wondering, so I kind of see those as projects that are like, okay, these are hexagon projects. We know these are going to do well, but what about any other current Ethereum projects, like any that are priced out, that have already been priced out on ETH, or things that just kind of lost steam that might have new opportunities? Are you aware of any? Or like, I've heard SHIB people are, you know, are paying attention. They're going to be coming to PulseCon.
Cool. Yeah. Have you heard of Colt?
Of Colt?
Yep. Colt's DAO, I think is what it is.
No. COLT?
CULT.
Oh, Colt DAO.
Yeah. So I was listening to Crypto Kindness, and I can't remember his name, but they were talking about it, and I think it's the same person that made Shiba Inu. I can't remember exactly any of the details, but I was going to buy into it, but to swap it on the swap feature on MetaMask, the fees were so high. Like at one point, Gwei hit like 4,500.
Ridiculous.
And so it was just like way too high to trade. And so I was going to get into it, and I even like had the USDC set aside for it.
Right.
It doubled.
Really?
Doubled, yes. And so I actually, like, during the stream, I just got a text from my dad that he bought it.
I want to meet your pops. This guy sounds awesome.
Yeah, literally me and him are texting. He's texting me right now that he got Colt at like a specific price. But it's so interesting. He like did the price analysis of it, and like where he like drew the specific lines, he's like, this is where it's going to, you know, double or do even better. And literally when it hit that point, it doubled. So neither of us got into it. But he just bought into it.
Yeah, well, clearly your dad knows what he's doing. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's good. He's really good.
Yeah, I'd say so. So, do any of us know this guy? Has he ever been on stream or anything? Has your pops ever showed his face?
He has once. It was in
I think Briz said earlier. He's like, I think Briz. I missed what he said. I think Briz said he saw. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, so he's been on stream once. He will not go on stream with me. Also, I think he's watching right now. So if he is he? You need to go on with me. I tell him this every time I see him. But
you guys would do a killer channel, like father-daughter. That would be awesome.
I know, and he's so smart. Like, I ask all my questions to him. So I'm like, we should just have one of our question sessions over live stream.
Absolutely. Cool. What up, Hex Luther? Yeah, I think we should absolutely do that.
Okay, I do too. Just need to recruit my dad.
Yeah, we'll try to find a way. All of us on the stream will put together a petition for FC's pops. FC's pops, we need you to come stream. We're pleading to you. We got to hear wisdom from you.
Yeah, no, he's awesome. And he I was on like a Saturday show with Gen Hex, Craig Waiting.
Right.
And my dad came over for a second, and I told him, I was like, you are getting on this stream with me. So I sat him down right next to me, and he said hi to everyone, and then he was done. That's
so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I wish I got to go check out that stream. You know, I found out that my next door neighbor was a day one hexagon, and I've known him for 3 years. And so it's one of the videos I did like about 2 weeks ago. But yeah, he was a day one hexagon, and this whole time, like, I mean, and it shows that I haven't been doing a good enough job of like shilling to my neighbors and vice versa, right? Because I shill it a lot, but I guess just in the neighborhood, you know, you don't want to, you know, you want to be careful with your neighbors, right? And
you live by them, and
right, you live by them, and if you know, and if they rely on you and something doesn't go right and they don't do their own research, there could be resentments or whatever. But next thing you know, yeah, I found out he's a day. Once I started the channel, my fiance sent it to his wife, and you know, and so. She was like, oh my gosh, he's a hexagon, and it was just like I couldn't believe it. It was shocking. So NFTs. So that's one of the things I want. So have you ever got into NFTs? Have you ever bought one?
So the PulseX, they made one of me.
Did they?
Yes,
that's awesome.
That's the only experience that I have with NFTs.
So did they send it to you in your wallet? Like, do you have it
They're going to send it through Mintra once Pulse
through
Chain.
Mintra?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. So what I'm curious about, and so I think it's confirmed tomorrow at I want to say 5 my time, which is Mountain Time. I'm going to be doing some with Steak and Apes, and so I'm curious to ask him a lot of information about a lot of stuff about his NFT experience because, like I said, I've played with NFTs, and I'm curious with Mintra, for example. From what I understand, like all the Bored Apes holders, and I put out a couple of videos letting them be aware of this. And I own some Crypto Chicks also, which I think is a cool NFT collection and community. And
Nice.
I've told people, like, listen, you want to make sure that you delist your NFTs because I believe, tell me if you know something differently, but essentially, like, let's say someone has a Bored Ape listed for 90 ETH, right? Well,
Okay.
when Mintra, when Pulse Chain forks Ethereum and then Mintra forks OpenSea, then it will be listed for 96 Pulse, if I'm not mistaken. Is that
Okay.
right? Have you heard that?
I think that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, I mean, for pennies, I could pick up like the most rare Bored Ape or whichever ones are listed, and when Pulse Chain gets mass adoption, I would think you'd want to hold on to both your copies of your NFTs. So at least that's something that I wanted to mention because I think that people are going to make mistakes with that and they're not going to pay attention to Pulse Chain, and then they're going to realize that Pulse Chain grows, and then they're going to see someone else with their NFT, and they're going to they're not going to be too happy about it. But it's like Richard said, he's taking the N out of NFTs, or taking the non out of non-fungible tokens, because essentially you could bridge over your ape from Ethereum, and then you'd have two of the same apes on the network. You'd have a wrapped ape, and then you'd have a native Pulse Chain ape, which is just interesting. So I don't know how that's going to work. Do you know anything about how that part will work as far as the, like, being able to maybe lock the value of those together and sell them as a duo? Do you know much about that?
I don't.
Okay,
It
these are
seems
questions I have for him tomorrow, so no
confusing.
worries.
I'm excited to watch that because it's going to be good information to have.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, you put the fungible back in NFT. That's right, Briz. Exactly.
Nice.
So let's see. And again, I know you said you had some questions too. I'm trying to think of all the questions that I had because we've been going on some cool topics. Hex, what do you think is going to happen with EHEX and PHEX? Like, how do you think that's going to work as far as value?
Yeah, so I don't really have an opinion, but I'm going to tell you what I've heard from other people.
Yeah.
Just because I have absolutely no clue. So the airdrop will happen, right? And we're going to get the same amount of hex. If you have like liquid hex, right? So you'll have the same amount value, or not value wise, amount.
Same coins. Yeah.
Yes. And then value wise, the whole talk is, when is parity going to happen between PHEX and EHEX?
Exactly.
And I think it's such an interesting topic.
If ever.
Yeah, because there's that. But a lot of people have been talking about how EHEX is going to be the lower valued asset, and PHEX will be higher, which I think is interesting because eventually they'll cross, right? If PHEX is going up and EHEX is going down, eventually they'll have to hit parity in some way, right? So parity is, I think, a very reasonable thing, but I don't know. I can see it both ways. I can see
with the T-share payouts. That's what's going to be interesting because the T-share payouts are going to be higher on the ETH network, right? Yeah. And so, like, just because of the way that the way the T-share functions, and so I mean, it'll grow on Pulse Chain, but it's something that we won't know until it happens. It's so much of this is to be seen. Hold on, I want to make sure I'm checking the comments. So let's see. Yeah, David Lee's asking Briz, how fast to parity? Let's see. It looks like we're waiting on his answer. Hey, thanks for the comment, Briz. Appreciate you, man. Ooh. Let's see. Hex Luther says parity will almost be instant. Ask who is setting liquidity. Fixer bot. Who is that? Yeah. So I do see that. Like, I do see parity I do see almost instant parity as far as right out the gate. I guess my question is, how will that how long will that last? You know,
Mhm.
and then at what point do we reach parity again? So I don't know. So much to be seen with this.
Yeah. So do you think that p-hex will be worth more than e-hex?
I mean, I think see, it's so hard to say because I mean, I would think it has to. I think it will have to do with the adoption of the network. Obviously, we know that anything that Richard puts out is flawless. That's why anyone, I mean, gosh, all these hacks that we've seen and all these different bridges that have been hacked and funds stolen, and people are complaining about how long Pulse Chain has taken to develop. I'm like, guys, he's developing it the right way so that we don't have to deal with these hacks. We don't have to deal with $150 million losses. You know, we actually get to watch something be done right, just like Hex was, no downtime, etc. So with that being said, um, you know, I think that Pulse Chain will eventually become. I think it's going to be a stronger network out the gate. I think adoption will. I think adoption will take some time though, because I mean, what we have 100 and something thousand addresses that have sacked for Pulse. So we know that all the top influencers, Richard said himself, have sat for Pulse, and if they own it, you would think therefore they'd talk about it. So if it spreads as fast as it should spread, then
Hmm.
I think PHEX will have more value than EHEX, I think, pretty quickly. But again, with the fact that the T shares are going to be paying out more on the east side, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know.
It's hard to know. Ike said, I think more people will trade PHEX because of lower gas fees. I think that's a great point too.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So you're planning on liquidating the rest of your PRC20s, or are you for PulseX, or are you planning on keeping those bad boys,
So I'll keep
the
PHEX.
non-hex ones?
Yeah, yeah. So all of the non-hex ones, I'm just going to trade into other Pulse Chain native tokens.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've kept a lot of my old ERC20s that I just don't even mess with. That because of gas fees, I haven't swapped them into hex. A lot of them because I haven't had
Same.
large enough bags of some of them. You know, that hasn't been worth it. So I've just been holding on to them. So I have dozens of ERC20s that I'm curious to see what they do as PRC20s. But honestly, as far as my pre-bridge and my pre-bridge strategy,
Mhm.
I'm pretty happy with where I am with both my sacks, and so I'm kind of planning on just holding. I guess I don't know. I've been nervous to trade. I've been cautious to trade. You know,
Mhm.
so
Which
we'll
is
see.
okay because I feel you on that.
Yeah, but you kind of don't have you really don't have much of a choice in terms of
Yeah.
well, you do, but I guess everyone can buy Pulse once there's an on ramp to buy Pulse. Anyone can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's going to be an interesting experience. And I feel like it's hard to talk about it right now because we really don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's all theoretical. What's your guess for a date for launch?
Ooh, okay. Let's see. So he said 14 days yesterday. I'm going to bring up my calendar.
He said 14 days or less. And that would
Yes.
have been on the 10th, right? So the 24th or less.
Ooh. Just with how tech goes, since I've worked in
Yeah,
tech
see, that's why I'm asking you.
for a while, I feel like it's going to be the 28th of May.
28th.
Yeah,
Okay.
that gives them a couple extra days. What about you?
All right. Gosh, I mean, I've honestly, if I were to say a number, I would say if I would have to say a date, I would say I'd say the 24th. I mean,
Okay.
it's a multiple of 6, and 6 is my lucky number. That's the only reason why. But I'll say this: if Richard would have said 8 more weeks, I wouldn't have cared at all. I mean, I think the hex price would
Oh,
have done some
yeah.
things, but I would have been totally okay with it. So I guess my point is that I already did my whole get excited thing months ago. You know, so it's
Same.
like I've already been. It's like I'm a broken horse. I'm already broken of the whole like. It's like, hey, whenever it happens, it happens. And I'm going to be excited for that time. Do you see who was it that was saying that a 50x is realistic on day one? Have you heard
Oh,
that as far as for
I
Pulse?
have.
What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's pie in the sky stuff, or do you think that's real?
I don't know. I do not have a financial background at all. And so when it comes to
Yeah.
predicting like prices, I have absolutely no clue.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure
Do
you
you
wouldn't
think
be.
it's realistic?
I definitely think it's realistic. I mean, I've seen, I've been able to get in early on some coins that, they did 100x's on day one. It's although there's just such a different concept. And what my curiosity is how many I know our community and how strong the hexakin and the pulsekin community is, but I'm so curious as to how many other people that are closeted hexakins or closeted pulsekins, which I guess you maybe couldn't even call yourself one if that's the case. But like how many are just waiting to get in, that like here's what I'm curious of. How many people are super excited for Pulse like yourself, except you did get into PulseX? How many people are out there that just can't wait they're literally watching their calendars, like sweating because they want to make sure they hit buy the moment that Pulse Chain is available, that weren't able to sack for Pulse or PulseX?
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm curious about, is how many people are out there like that, because we know the 100,000 that sacked, but how many more are there?
Yeah.
And so that's one of the main things why, it was like, I'd been thinking about doing content for a while. And I used to do like, so I do podcasts in the recovery space, like having to do with,
Okay.
drug and alcohol recovery and things like that. But as far as the crypto space, what motivated me was when I was at the Hex conference. I was talking to Crypto Heartbeat and also Rags. And
Uh-huh.
I was saying, hey, I've been thinking about doing this because I mean, I want to do my part. Like, I want to make sure I'm doing my part. If all our voices, because a big thing they were trying to tell us all is like, guys, please create content. And I wanted to do my part, and they kind of pushed me over the edge. But
Uh-huh.
so yeah. Well, gosh, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought with that. I think the point I was saying was that help me out. What was I saying with that?
So I think you were talking about, and if not, I'd love to know why you are making videos because they're really good. I think you're a great content creator.
Oh,
You talked
really?
about
You're
how
saying
you, no, I seriously think you're awesome. And so
I appreciate that.
you're
Thank you.
talking about how you're making podcasts, but I would actually love to
Yeah.
know like what got you into this content creation for crypto on YouTube.
So yeah, what got me into so gosh, it's been for the last, I mean, honestly, ever since I'd say the Pulse Chain sacrifice came about, and I started telling everyone that I knew that I was, that I knew at least was in a, I think I first approached people that I knew were in financial positions to make investment, because
Yeah.
there's there I have a I'm pretty close. The people that are in my life, I'm pretty close with, and if I say, hey, do your own research, but look into this, they likely are not going to do their own research, and they're just going to do it anyway. And I would not want something like that. So I made sure the people I went to were the people that I knew had some dry powder to blow, and so kind of a similar situation to you, as I wanted to get the message out there, but then I saw the fun that everyone else was having. And also,
Yeah.
again, just touching on the recovery community, like being in recovery myself, like we have AA, and things like that. That's worldwide. Like, we can go into a room and instantly talk to someone, and without knowing them at all, we could literally just see them in a room and we feel like we've known them forever, right? And
Hmm.
so as far as hexagons, I almost feel like it's that same vibe. Like when I was at the conference, and when I was at the local one that they had a Salt Lake City one, which is where I'm Salt Lake City Hexagon, and we did the meetup here, and it was just the same vibe. Like everyone that I met, it was just instantly like, man, I dig you. Like, I get along with you, I vibe with you. And so I kind of got that. I haven't seen a hex streamer that I don't like. I just haven't. Like, I enjoy everyone. And so I just kind of wanted to participate in the community as well as get the message out there. And I just hesitated for months and months and months. And I literally have a section in my YouTube that is, you basically save a video, you save it to a playlist, and it's called Video Ideas. It's over 1,000 videos long that I hit it and I'm like, all right, I'm going to start doing content tomorrow. And then I just wouldn't do it. Then I'm like, all right, I'm going to start doing content tomorrow. And then I wouldn't do it. And then I put it off for so long, had the setup and everything. And then finally, when I went to the conference, I kind of, got I was like, all right, I'm actually going to do it. And plus I just had my first baby boy on, my first child. I have two
Oh,
step boys whom I love to death, but my first baby
congrats.
boy on January 13th. And so that kind of threw a wrench in things as well. But once I went to the conference, that's when I started doing it. So that's the long answer. Short answer is to get the message out easier and to be able to point someone somewhere, and also to participate in the community. That's one of the things I think is the coolest thing about this crypto, and why I think we're gonna, network effect is so important for a blockchain. I mean, that's how they achieve success. And that's, we already have network effect just by our own group. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome. So are you going to PulseCon?
Yeah, so I'm going to PulseCon. There's Hexy Quinn. She's saying, I met you there, Hexy. Yes, she did. So that's how I met Hexy. It was the crypto spar. Hold on, just a real quick aside. So this is wild. The crypto Sparbuck guys, right? I knew they were coming in town for their what would you call it that they do, which they're so good at. It's not a conference, it's a workshop, right? They do their workshops. And so they were coming in town, and I'd been looking at it, and I was actually watching a crypto Sparbuck video, and I was driving one of my cars, and I literally had it playing on my, sorry, I shouldn't say that I watch videos and drive. I more listen to them, but I kind of glance over sometimes. And it's better than drinking and driving. But anyway, so I was watching a crypto Sparbuck video, and this is about a week before their workshop. And I look over to my left, and it's rain's coming down. I look over to my left, and I see a Pulse car drive by. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And so I pulled right up to it, and it was Patrick from Crypto Sparbuck, right on 700 East in Salt Lake City, just chilling right there. So we shouted out at each other, and he couldn't hear me because the car I was driving is extremely loud. And anyway, we finally connected at the event, and so it was wild. So that was an aside that I just wanted to say that was just kind of kismet, right? Like it was like it told me I was in the right place doing the right thing, and that this is the right community. And then so I met Hexy there and some other people. What is she saying? He pushed me to do it. Yeah, I did talk to you about doing content creation. I think you're awesome at it too. Let's see what Briz say. Buying Pulse chain is like buying a piece of the stock. Absolutely. 100%. Hey, thanks, Thomas Turner. I appreciate it, man. So sorry, I don't think I answered your question fully. What was the question you had?
So are you going to PulseCon?
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I was going with so I met Hexy Quinn there, and obviously she's part of the official Pulsification, that channel, as is Hex Luthor and Hex Joker. I know they're one of the sponsoring channels for it. And yeah, I'm absolutely going. Cool. Like 100% I'm going for it. I'm going to it. I mean, the Hexpo was such a blast. It was so cool, and being able to talk to Richard, albeit through StreamYard. I mean, as you got to, it was cool to be able to ask him some questions. And I think it's going to be wild. One of the things about the Hexpo was it was done very. I mean, Maddie put a lot of effort into it, and I come from, as I mentioned to you, I was running a business that had to do with laboratory science, and so there'd be a conference called PitCon that was every year. That's the largest laboratory science conference in the world, and we're talking hundreds of thousands of people that come to this thing. And so I'm used to conferences where there's like a bunch of different booths and vendors and things like that. And from what I understand, PulseCon is going to have like different booths, like such as wallet booths. It's going to have I think Shib's going to have a booth there or something like that. Like I think it's going to be more like an ETH conference. So it's going to, instead of just, I mean, think of the difference, right? Hex is a coin conference, so it's totally different than a blockchain conference, right? Like it's really two totally different concepts, or separate concepts, I should say.
Yeah.
Because everyone can play. Let's say Hexy Man is going to be, Hexy, that's right. I am going to be your bodyguard on the party bus. No one try to hurt her. That's a fact. So were there other questions of yours that I didn't answer?
Ooh, I feel like you've answered a lot of them along the way.
Yeah, sorry, I'm long-winded.
Oh, no, you're good. I'm just trying to think if I have any more. This has just been so fun talking to you. Yeah, I'll be able to meet you.
Are you going to PulseCon?
Yeah, I am. And guess who's coming with me? My dad.
Oh, yeah. We definitely get to meet. But I have a feeling we're going to meet Pops before then. I have a feeling that Pops, we're all going to sign a petition. In fact, I'm gonna FC. Let's see, petition. I'm writing this in the chat right now. Hold on.
Awesome.
Petition for FC's Pops to do content with her.
I might just FaceTime him one of these times, and I'll just do a live and have his FaceTime on as the
Yeah, there
live
you go.
stream or
See, I
something.
just signed it. I just
Oh,
signed it. So hey, we'll get it. Maybe we should pass it around on Twitter, unless we're
yeah.
putting too much pressure on the guy. You know, he sounds like a cool guy though. I mean, he's a Hexkin. And he's getting his daughter into crypto. I think that's
Yeah.
awesome too. He's
Yeah,
raised you well.
second gen crypto.
Yeah, like so. I mean, it was funny with Richard's stream with you. I was like, you look old, and then he's like,
I
you look
know.
young. You know, like I was like, Richard, what are you saying, man? Like, she doesn't look old, dude. And then at the end, he's like, wait, you do look young. And so I don't know exactly what your generation is. Not a, it's a gentleman never asked a woman her age, but it is cool to see a young. I mean, well, one of your videos you said you started your first like website when you were 13, so you're definitely from the tech generation, and you know you've known crypto since you were young. Wealthy, what's happening? He's blocked from Twitter.
My dad's blocked on Twitter.
He's blocked on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like he's blocked on Twitter as a whole. Like Twitter won't allow him.
Yeah, it said something along the lines of like, he had never posted anything, and he had never like done like anything, okay? And it was like permanently like deactivated or something along those lines.
I think your pops is secretly like, I think he was maybe secretly like Trump's crypto advisor or something.
Yeah,
And then he got because clearly he knows what he's doing.
yeah.
That's wild.
No.
That's why we haven't seen him on Twitter.
Yeah, but and that's the thing is he wants to be anonymous anyways. And
Yeah,
so,
no,
but
and
he's
I
going to
completely
be at
respect that.
PulseCon with me, so everyone's going to see him there. So
Yeah, you know, but I guess it's different between like, you know, yeah, like being at the conference is it's kind of like Wales, right? Like I think Wales is going to be at the conference. Wales, obviously, I haven't met you. I can't speak for you, but you know, Wales is known as, you know, you don't see his face or anything like that, but he'll be at the conference, I believe. Not trying to, you know, yeah. Anyway, but I think you'll see the vibe at the conferences is just super cool. Like I haven't yet been able to reminisce. I have a friend, one of my friends I want to get on and reminisce with her about the conference and reminisce with one of my buddies about the conference because they were just a good group there. You know what I mean? And so we'll
yeah,
be able to do the same about PulseCon.
heck yes.
So what else in crypto are you paying attention to? Like obviously everything Richard Hart, paying attention to the blockchain, looking out for his MetaMask replacement. It is interesting that he did say he was going to do an OpenSea replacement, right? I mean, because there is Mintra. He said he might do it, but I think he'll be pleased with Mintra. We'll see, right? But I think he will. Gerardo does phenomenal things. And but what else in crypto are you paying attention to right now aside from Luna, like we were talking about earlier?
Yeah, so I really like Cardano actually. And so,
you're ADA gang.
Yeah, I am. And I don't actually typically talk about that just because I've been adopted into this community.
Right, yeah.
That I've basically just focused on that. But I mean, I have over 30 different coins that I'm invested into.
Right.
And so I've really diversified my portfolio. But yeah, so I am an ADA fan.
Yeah. Is it because of the peer review? Is that like the fact that is it that the techie in you that is a fan of that? Or is it more?
Yeah, it's definitely that. And then I love that they're proof of stake, and you know that's what Pulse Chain's going to be, is the proof of stake, and the Cult DAO, kind of like I was saying that earlier. It's a good
Absolutely.
one too. What else? I mean, I think there's a lot of projects that have a lot of potential. I'm definitely not a maxi in any way on any coin because I think it's good to be diversified. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. What about you?
So I mean, I'm definitely like someone had said it. So far, I've been a Richard Hart maxi. I don't have any other reason to. Because I think that he makes phenomenal products. You know,
he does.
Other than certainly I have ADA, I have XRP, I have you know, I still have Bitcoin. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I just haven't touched. And and it's I guess I should say it's been because I've been fortunate to have the dry powder that I need to be able to throw into, you know, into like the sacrifices and things like that. If I would have had to make the decision, I would have liquidated it all for Hex. And I'm not just saying that because I'm part of the community, but for Hex, Pulse Chain, PulseX, I'd even add liquid loans into that because I, you know, sat for that. But you know, pay attention to ADA. I mean, everything is just crazy right now. You know what I mean? It's wild. But I mean, gosh, if you looked at my list of coins, it's probably 60 coins long or something. And then I mean, I own a bunch of different ENS names, right? And so like I got part of the ENS airdrop, that .eth domain names. I don't know if you've looked
cool.
mentioned to those.
Mm-mm.
So that was a cool airdrop. Speaking of airdrops, and this is how powerful airdrops can be for anyone that's watching that maybe hasn't been able to participate in one. Although I guess all of us Hexicans did with Pulse Dogecoin, but if you chose to get it, but ENS, so ENS is Ethereum name service, and it's essentially .eth. So like you could buy Fashioncoder.eth as an NFT. You basically go to ens.domains, you own it as an NFT, but you can actually point your website to it, but it also can become one of your wallet addresses. So instead of saying, oh yeah, you want to send me some money, send it to 0x blah 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 blah, your whole hexadecimal address, you can literally just say, oh, you want to send me some money, send it to fashioncoder.eth. So it's but my point is, if you own domain names, they did an airdrop for based off how long you own the domain names and however many you owned, where it was like, it was almost 10 grand that I got one day just like that. Now that I should have sold it instantly, because now it's down to like a few $100, if that. We'll see what it does. We'll see what it does on Pulse Chain. Have you heard anything about that being forked? Does anyone in the chat know about that? Like, do we know anything if there's going to be like PNS domain names?
I have no clue.
Because I mean, the smart contracts, you would think it would transfer over, but let's see, ENS on. Yeah, I'm just curious if there's going to be like, if like, for instance, you could have, fashioncoder.pls or something like that could be a wallet address. Maybe with his new MetaMask. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, anyway, gosh, I asked, so Fashioncoder, I mean, huge shout out to you, like FC or Rachel. So, I mean, I gave a shout out to you, what was it, earlier today, and asked you if you'd stream, and you were just super, super game for it. So I want to thank you for being so willing to do that on such short notice. And I know that the moment I end this live, I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, I should have asked her like this. Like I said, I'm new to doing these live, right? Like I usually don't do them live. I usually, as far as podcasting, like I do that recorded, like, pre-recorded, and then live is pretty new. But anyway, so yeah.
Thanks for having me. This has been fun. I feel like we've had good conversation too.
Yeah, I think so too. I think we should do it again. I think we should, touch base. Hey, maybe I can meet this famous Pops one day on stream. That would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
Love to have him on. Let's give a shout out for FC and Pops. Yeah. And just for sound effects, who's FC's Pops? We don't know. I'm just being corny now. I'm just having fun with the sound effects. Well, I do have some fun ones. Like I got this one right here.
Thanks, Hexiest man in the world. Congrats on the kid, man.
Got rich with that. And
Hex is not a scam. Cannot, in good conscience, play Richards a scam. Hex is not a scam.
That's just a fact. Just to end on that point, that came from Crypto Exposed video. Didn't like some of the things he said, but anyway, it's not a scam, and it's the real deal. So yeah, I think that's cool that you're diversified in crypto, and you are an inspiration, I think, to your generation. I hope you get a lot of different subs, even though your goal isn't to be a YouTuber. I think you could actually end up doing that if that's something you wanted to do. And I think that you could onboard an entire generation onto a blockchain that I truly think is going to be the start to a new future for crypto, because I think a lot of the old future is starting to erode, and we're seeing it in front of our eyes. So
totally. Thanks.
Absolutely. It's been fun. So thank you so much. And everyone, thank you for joining, and thanks for being here. It's cool to see people in the comments on the live. And we'll tune out, and we'll see you again next time, everyone. All right. Okay, hold on one sec.